This is Modern Persian Food,
a culinary podcast for today's food enthusiast.
We talk about classic Persian flavors,
modern recipes,
and embracing culture and identity through food.
I'm Bita.
And I'm also Beata.
Welcome to our show. Hi, friends. This is Beata. In light of the current events in Iran, we considered halting broadcasts of our pre-recorded content. In the end, we decided to move forward, hoping to provide a respite from troubling thoughts and heavy hearts. We pay respect and tribute to the women of Iran and the Mahsa Amini movement. Please enjoy the show. Welcome to episode 104. Today we're going to help you upgrade your party dip with Persian yogurt Boorani. I'm here today with Bita June, and we're going to break down what Boorani is, why it's a healthy alternative, and also so delicious. So let's start right in. What is Boorani by definition?
Yeah, hi there. Boorani is basically a yogurt dip or side dish that has yogurt in it, obviously, and it has some sort of cooked green or vegetable in it, a lot of times with onion, heavily seasoned. And you can have that, like I said, like a dip as an appetizer. You can have that with some crudité. You can have that with some chips. You can just eat it with like a spoon. And it's delicious. I love it. I'm super excited actually to be talking about Boorani. I feel like I make it quite often with a different variety of ingredients. The traditional way is made with yogurt. So you can play around if you have certain dietary restrictions and you want to not use like dairy or something like that. You can pick your own kind of yogurt, but it is a yogurt-based delicious dip that I love having, especially when I have guests or I want to have like a nice little side dish to some other foods. It's definitely a favorite.
Yeah, yogurt is such a big part of Persian food culture, and it's on almost every table, even in its just very plainest and simplest form. And one of the things I love about it is that, you can mix it and turn it into a side dish, and it's just so much better for you than our Western sort of ranch and cream cheese, heavy sour cream or cream cheese based dips. So I don't think it lacks in flavor. I don't think you're losing anything by using yogurt, and you're just adding so much more nutritional benefit.
Yeah, and a ton of protein in there. So when people talk about Boorani, I think what comes to mind is usually like a spinach-based Boorani. So what we're talking about is like lightly sauteed some spinach with some onion. You don't have to have onion if you don't want to, but you have the greens and then you mix that with yogurt. In its most like basic form, when you think about Boorani, it's like spinach and yogurt. There's other common ingredients, like there could be a version made with like eggplant, cooked eggplant, the mostalabu, like the beets, that can definitely be kind of like a Boorani. Personally, adding the onions really does add a little bit more flavor to it. And, just like cooked onions is just so delicious. I also like to maybe add a little bit of turmeric when I'm sauteing the onions in the spinach or with the eggplant or whatever it is that I'm using. And then adding turmeric then, or making like a turmeric oil and kind of drizzling the top of it with turmeric oil or just olive oil on the top of it. Makes it look beautiful and adds a lot of beautiful fattiness to it to make it like more luscious. And to your point, it's just so much more refreshing than a heavy weighed down like traditional spinach dip, where it does have the sour cream and cream cheese and all these kind of like, and mayo and things like that can really weigh it down. This can be a much lighter version, more refreshing. Sometimes people will put lemon zest in it or a little bit of lemon juice as well, and that really brightens it up to make it even more refreshing.
Yeah, we want you all to be able to walk away from listening to this and be able to make 2 or 3 Boorani's on your own. And so we're going to walk you through some recipes. Why don't we start with the spinach version, or Boorani espinach?
It's really that simple. It's just sauteing some onions with some spinach just lightly, because the spinach does wilt down a ton when you cook it. You can leave the baby spinach leaves in their shape, or you can kind of chop it down a little bit if you want it to be like a little bit more uniform of a dip. But yeah, it's a pretty basic recipe.
When you're using fresh spinach, do you trim the stems?
If there's like a hardy stem, I'll chop it up. But I usually use all of it. I don't like throw it away. I'll just chop it if it's going to be a little bit too hardy or too woody.
Gotcha. Yeah, the baby spinach usually is pretty forgiving and not being too stemmy, but it takes a lot, right? So you take like a big bunch, you saute it down for a couple minutes, and then what do? Do you have to drain it or?
I don't drain it. So when I cook the spinach, I don't cover it. If you don't cover it and just cook it very lightly, you won't get a bunch of liquid coming out. So I will just saute it in there lightly, add turmeric if I'm going to be adding turmeric. And then I go ahead and turn the heat off. And then I will dollop in the yogurt and just kind of lightly like kind of mix it up right there in the pan.
Oh, in the pan?
I do it right there in the pan. And then it gets kind of all the goodness of, using turmeric or the oil, and you get that all out from the bottom of the pan.
Delicious.
And then I will put that into whatever bowl I'm going to serve it with. And I can garnish it, like I said, with a little bit of olive oil, or you can actually even add like a little bit of mint if you would like. I'll either serve it warm, or if I'm like having a party or something like that, I'll make that in advance, cover it, keep it in the fridge. And then when the guests come, I have that as one of my appetizers ready to go.
Awesome. I could see it traveling well too, to take to potluck.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. And it's just something a little bit different. It's familiar enough to people, so it's not super crazy, but it's still yet a little bit different to be intriguing to people, and it's something a little bit more interesting. And then eggplant. Eggplant's so delicious. I love eggplant in like pretty much any form. But you could do it that way. And you were experimenting with that a little bit, right?
Yeah. Of all the versions, the Boorani Badamjan is the one that I make the most often. I've had the recipe for several years, and it started out being called, Persian Borani eggplant dip, and it's gone through some transformations, and it now is actually a kashka badamjun. But my kashka badamjun and my Boorani badamjan recipe are more or less the same. Bear with me.
Okay.
How I make it is, in both versions, I use the long and skinny eggplants, either Japanese or Chinese. Mm-hmm. I bake them whole and solid in the oven. I'll put some slits on the tops. I'll do, in a hot oven, like 425. I'll cook them like 15 minutes on one side and flip them and do like 15 minutes on the other side. I want the eggplant to be really cooked down and wrinkly. And then what I'll do is I'll let it cool. And then I'll use this method where you put it in a paper bag and the steam kind of helps the skin start to come off. And then it very easily peels off. I just peel the skin off with my hands. I love working with my hands in a very old-fashioned way. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I chop it up, take the stem off and chop it up and put it in my Cuisinart.
So you puree it.
A little, yeah. I don't want it like total mush, but I do like a little texture still in it. Mm-hmm. I do use sauteed onion, garlic, turmeric, salt, and I like to use like a touch of robe or tomato paste. I think it makes it really delicious. Mm-hmm. But the main difference in my recipes for kashka badamjun and Boorani is that Boorani is milder, in my opinion. It has a little more yogurt mixed right in after the eggplant has been cooked. And I don't really use a ton of mint in my Boorani. I do like a lot of mint fried right into the onions when I'm making kashka badamjun. And my kashka badamjun is just kind of a little heavier. I must use more oil in my onion and mint. So this is a little bit lighter. I have a story about it. So, in fact, my daughter just reminded me yesterday, she didn't think she liked eggplant until the Boorani. And now literally, like, I was kind of half making it yesterday while I was doing a million other things. And she must have walked in the kitchen like 5 or 6 times, like, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? And so she's like, ready. And she loves it. So, that's a win. That's a win for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love eggplant Boorani as well. And I don't blame your daughter because the smell of cooked eggplant is just like so delicious. I love that. But I cook mine a little bit different. I actually do prefer roasting the eggplant. You can fry the eggplant. It does soak up a lot of oil and you kind of have to like dedicate your time to just making sure it doesn't burn and frying that properly. So I actually love taking the shortcut of putting it in the oven. So I don't leave the eggplant whole in this execution. When I'm making Boorani, I'll either slice the eggplant in like discs, or I will just chop it up into like squares and toss it with olive oil and throw it into the oven for, 30 to 40 minutes, depending on your oven and how quickly it's cooking. And then I will get that and then I'll mix yogurt with that. So I don't necessarily puree that at all. I like the big fat chunks of the eggplant.
Do you peel it? Do you peel your slices?
I don't usually peel it. I'll eat it all. Yeah.
It's not bitter. It's okay. It tastes good.
I like it. And I don't really let it get like that black char that the skin can get onto it. Once it's kind of cooked through and a little bit caramelized, I will take it and take it to the next step. And then with olive oil and the yogurt. And I don't feel like it really needs that much more than that, So I really like that. And it's actually like a great like little side or like a light lunch. And you can kind of put a big like baguette or a crusty piece of bread with it. And it's like super delicious to have it with the eggplant.
So good. I thought of you because I have actually a BeatsEats recipe that I actually haven't made yet, but it's in my mind. I'm going to do it tonight. Do you want to hear it? I think your family, I don't know if your family will eat it with the picky eaters, but maybe.
I'm sure I'll eat it.
Yeah. So it's like a pasta bake. The reason I thought of it is that I have a lot in all my recipe testing. I have a little bit of a surplus of Boorani dip right now. I'm not sure how this is going to bake down, but I thought that you could do a pasta bake and almost make like an eggplant parmesan. It's a very sort of modern fusion, Italian Persian fusion thing happening here, but put like a layer of your Boorani, eggplant Boorani, put a layer of your pasta, another layer of Boorani and another layer of pasta or however you're layering it, layer it up with some cheese and fried onions. Make a like tahine of the noodles and eggplant and then put cheese in it.
Oh, wow. That sounds delicious. Yeah, get it all crusty on the bottom. That sounds good. I'll actually, if I don't have spinach, I will use other greens that I have. So like we sometimes get like the pre-mixed salad, different greens and the different leaves of different plants. Basically, it's like a salad mix. I will sometimes use salad mix. I'll get that. I'll kind of chop it up a little bit, saute that same way that I would do with the spinach, maybe add a little onion and then mix that. And that's like a totally fun version too. Sometimes we'll get a little hint of bitter if there's like some bitter greens in there, but that's one way to like kind of make use of some of the ingredients that you may have at home. If you don't necessarily have spinach or you want to use the salad mix, that's like definitely a go-to way.
Yeah, that is so nutritious too.
Hi, friends. Just a quick little interruption to say thank you for being a listener to our podcast. And also, if you would just take a moment to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends, that will help us grow and be able to bring more and more content to you all. So thank you in advance for doing that. Now back to our regular show. So the third version that I wanted to share with everybody today is actually using zucchini as another way to make Boorani. There's different variations based on where you're from or what your family preferences are. But the zucchini one, you can have it just plain zucchini with olive oil and onions. Or some people add tomato paste to it. So once you cook the zucchini, then you add a little bit of tomato paste to it, kind of like a sauce, and then you layer that with the yogurt. So then you get little like ribbons of tomato, of the tomato paste and the beautiful color all going through the Boorani itself. So that was like another version. But we encourage you to try it. This conversation has totally inspired me. I want to see what other vegetables I can make Boorani with. Like I can see myself doing like a roasted cauliflower, making like those small florets, roasting that, and then mixing all of that with the yogurt. I think that would actually be super fun. Maybe add a little bit of curry powder to the cauliflower when I'm baking it. Yeah, so let us know if anyone tries to make Boorani a different way, or if you try one of these recipes and you like it, please let us know. I mean, this is like such a fun alternative to traditional dips, especially if you're going to be entertaining. This is like a really go-to recipe that we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of.
Delicious. Well, today's Ask the Beats comes from Lisa in San Francisco, and Lisa wants to know, this is a big question, but what's your favorite ingredient to cook with?
Ooh. So many to choose from.
I know. Do you have one in mind?
I think that if I wanted to pick one ingredient, I would pick onion.
Oh.
As like one of my favorite ingredients. I love it because, you can cook with onion. You can have it raw. You can have it like the piaz dar, the fried onion, which is like, in so many of our Persian dishes. So I think that onion is just such a like versatile dish, chopping it up in some salad shirazi or having it raw just on the side, like with some sabzi khordan, some fresh herbs accompanying your rich stews or some delicious kebab. I definitely pick onion as one of my favorite ingredients to cook with and eat, actually.
Very versatile and a staple in so many things.
Yeah.
And it just like gets you hungry. When you start cooking the onions and the garlic, it's like, okay, time to eat.
Yeah, exactly. It smells so good. And it also like clings to you. So it's like your hair, your clothes are all smelling of the cooked onion. Oh my gosh.
I have to wear a little bonnet or chef's hat.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's so funny. I just remembered that from our onion episode. Onion was one of our very first episodes.
I know.
To that point, yogurt that you referenced earlier, we do have our own yogurt episode too. So if anyone's looking to hear those episodes again or for the first time, definitely go into your podcast app and scroll back to the beginning and you can get some really fun episodes that we had, including onion and yogurt. This was a fun episode for us too, because, we love Boorani and I'm glad that we can share it with everybody. Thank you to all our listeners and thank you, Beata June.
Keep the questions coming. Until next time. Bye.
Bye-bye. You've been listening to the Modern Persian Food Podcast with Beata and Bita. Thanks for spending time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling a friend or giving us a good rating. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com or on Instagram for the recipes and information we talked about today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.